Osebo Nswama Obiamwa is my guest for the morning, and he's a member of parliament for Ekrapim South, a legal practitioner, belongs to the following important committees in parliament. Oh. And okay, the committees on education, youth, sports and culture, local government and rural development, subsidiary legislation committees. I'm right.
Well, you are not entirely right. I don't know where you got your information.
Oh, okay.
I belong to two committees.
Oh,
this one minus education and youth.
Oh, then this one is ODAPO.
ODAPO. It's subsidiary and local government.
ODAPO. We got it from your website, the official website of Parliament. It has to be updated.
Current one.
I'm telling you, when you Google right now, you know Google works these days, so when we Google now.
Very well.
But don't worry, forgive our mistake.
Oh, it's 2/3. So. 75%.
Well, yesterday there was a press conference that's on Monday by Dr. Papa Kwesi Indom. He is a founder of the PPP, Progressive People's Party, and also was its flag bearer in the last election. He said notice he would be forced to form vigilante groups if nothing is done about perceived vigilante groups in both the MPP and NDC to defend his party also in the interests of that party, and also if violence at elections did not stop. He said if President Mohammed's claim that the Talensi by-election is a dress rehearsal for next year's election, and if that statement is anything to go by, then his party is also likely to form the Sea Lions as a preemptive measure for what he foresees to be bloody confrontations. Basically what he meant was that he thought something needed to be done about groups that usually will be charging up, especially when it comes to the things about election, especially among the two parties, the MPP and the NDC. And we saw it in the Talensi by-election once again. It was a rough event, so to speak.
Well, thank you, Roland, and good morning to viewers. If I read your transcript, Papa Kwesi Indom did not exactly say that. What he said was the fact that if he comes to private armies, some of them can raise private armies because at least they have the resources, but they won't do it because they want the good of the country. And for some of them, all their investment and everything is in the country, and they will not want the country to be destabilized in any way. I listened to him, I thought he made very good sense. I mean, I cannot fault him on any sentence that he came out with. He was even being pushed to say that why is he saying that he can also form the Sea Lions? He was saying that he can do it, but he will not do it because that's not the way to go. But if the government of the day thinks that this is going to inure to his benefit, so it will pursue that agenda, then it will be encouraging others to also look at that option. And even if he doesn't do it, it doesn't mean it will not discourage others from also thinking about it. And I agree with him more in the sense that I don't think any party should ever plan for elections and also make room for vigilantes and violent people as part of the strategy and planning. And the more it goes on, the more at every meeting, people will push the agenda that have we catered for that aspect? Have we thought of vigilante who protect the ballot box, so to speak? And it's been going on for years. I mean, you may say that when it comes to Tagri and then boys who form violent groups, you say that it's since independence. That is a fact. I mean, they took Ujos and whatever. Those who form groups and then they are used by political parties and then they become violent and uncontrollable. It's been there for years. But at least we should learn from our history. It's never been a good thing. But if we popularize it, if we eulogize it to the extent that somebody starts Azoka Boys, he ends up even being a chairman of regional chairman. Then the impression people get is that, hey, if I can form a group and be so popular, then I'll be moving higher instead of coming lower. Somebody becomes a national organizer. The next moment he says, I formed Bamba Boys. Then the average person sitting somewhere thinks that, so the moment you become a party leader, you have a right to form your own grouping, when probably you may not even have control over them, and then it spills over into such a situation. Or there's a problem at the National Party office. Instead of bringing in the police to solve it, then you say that invisible boys have gone to the party office to restore calm and order, or to prevent others from coming to the party office. What Papa Kwesi Ndum is saying, which I agree with him entirely, is that at no point should we give any group that kind of that kind of authority or prominence when we are talking about elections. And the problem is deep. The problem is deep in the sense that I'm aware, and he cannot deny it. I'm aware that for some parties, they think the only way they can win elections is to reduce the votes of certain parties in their strongholds while they increase their votes.
So how is that done? They cause mayhem in their strongholds?
They cause mayhem in the opponent's strongholds. So that at the end of the day, if the turnout was low, then it means the opponents didn't get the votes that was expected.
Do you think that was the intent of, or the rationale for all the activities that happened in Talensi?
You cannot isolate Talensi. What I'm saying is that the violent groups and violent reactions
and the phenomenon itself.
The phenomenon during our elections. One, we seem to be encouraging it. Two, it appears that the moment you do it in the name of party politics, you don't suffer the consequences. And three, we seem to have the impression that it works during elections to the extent that parties will factor that in their strategy and in the process of planning for elections. We should discourage it. And it's unfortunate that the Interior Minister did not come out well when he was interviewed. And his first thought was, violence beget violence. Forgetting that if we go this way, nobody will survive in this country. He'll be sitting in his ministry, and then whoever is stronger than him
will come and overpower him.
Will overpower him.
Ultimately, then there's chaos.
I mean, that is, and you should also know that even if you are government in power, it's not everywhere that you are strong. It can never happen. If you are government in power, you may have places where you dominate and places where you don't dominate. Are you saying that where you don't dominate, there should be chaos, or people should also take advantage of it and then do their own thing? I don't think any party will benefit from it. And I expect that every party will discourage it.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
I don't see why, when I'm planning to do elections, I should factor in vigilante. For what purpose? Just because somebody has planned that in the middle of elections, somebody should go and snatch a ballot box and run away. And probably the only person in charge of security at that polling station will be a fire officer, unarmed, helpless. So then the party people should all galvanize or should all mobilize, and then they chase the person to take back the box or beat him up. I mean, this kind of situation, this is a serious matter that I wanted to discuss. Because with this kind of situation, you drive good people away from politics. Politics becomes politics for langas and vigilantes and all those things. That is not what our politics should be.
All right.
So I agree with Papa Kwesi Ndum.
Papa Kwesi Ndum.
Dr. Kwesi Ndum.
Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum.
I agree with him perfectly.
Of the PPP. We'll be joined by Bit Ziding, a former Upper West Regional Minister, former Northern Regional Minister, and also member strongly of the NDC leadership. Thanks for that.
His titles are more than that.
I'm actually the Deputy Director of Elections.
He used to be Deputy General Secretary.
No, I know.
And he used to DFP. What was your position in DFP?
And then he's
DFP.
You come up with all kinds of things.
Your current position is a Deputy Director of Elections for the NDC.
Yes, I'm the Deputy Director of Elections.
So it means that you play a critical role in the Talensi election. Now, particularly when we saw your boys, Azoka boys, also having fisticuffs and really pitching their strength against the MPP's whatever bulldogs or whatever groups that we had. What foremost do you think that the political parties, the two main political parties, your party and the MPP, need to do to make sure we stamp out this from our body politic?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me use this opportunity to say good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners.
Which is your constituency in your home region?
He used to be a parliamentary candidate.
Well, I come from the Laura constituency.
Oh, Laura constituency. So a very good morning to
West region.
So you have to say good morning to them.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say good morning to the people of Laura. And then let me give you a general overview of what happened in Talensi before we come to the election day activities. Fortunately for me, as Deputy Director of Elections, I was in Talensi throughout. I went to actually conduct the primaries for the selection of the NDC candidate. And thereafter, I went back to Talensi as the advanced team, and I was in Talensi throughout. Let me tell you that the conduct of the campaigns were very, very peaceful. We had no difficulty, we had no challenges until election day. Now, the election day challenges were occasioned by people who had imported themselves into the constituency.
And in what? There are a lot of people. You yourself, you are an import.
I'm saying that by people who had imported themselves into the constituency. The violence.
You mean people who were not related?
Precisely.
Okay.
People, there's not a single indigene, for that matter, a single voter who has complained about challenges in casting his ballot on polling day. All those activities that happened were outside the polling perimeter, and there were no challenges in terms of the collation of results, the declaration of results. All those things were done. So we must discuss this issue of violence in a certain context. Okay? Now let us come down to the real issues about that. This is, you see, I hold this book, this complaints. I was in charge of operations.
Your book, so this is a complaints book?
Yes.
You have all the complaints in there?
Yes.
From what, your part, your
yes.
side of
I'm
the,
saying that.
Your side of...
Yes, from our side. And generally, what I'm saying, the complaints which were coming, which were emanating from the field, including the violence which took place. Now, let me tell you something. After the election, I met some NPP people, and I asked them why they brought in, because they were accusing us. So I asked them, why did they bring in their boys? And they said they brought in their boys to come and protect their ballot at the various polling stations.
Okay. And you also brought your boys to come and protect your ballot?
Precisely. Precisely. What I'm saying that.
Indeed,
wait,
no,
take it easy.
Don't go.
Let me make a point.
Don't make the point.
It is important to make that point.
So nextly, foremostly, I ask this, because now you have laid down the ground rules. For the voters who went to the polling stations and for those who were observing, nothing happened at the polling station, so it was safe for voting.
Precisely.
But for all the things that happen outside the voting or polling stations, you have clearly categorized that you interacted with some members or sympathizers of the MPP. And
I don't really agree with him.
Well, granted that all those happen, what do you think the political parties need to do? Because I will make my conclusion that now that it is clear, based on activities over the last year, that we have groups of young men who tend to undertake what they do in the form of vigilantism, both in the NDC and also in the NPP. What do you think the two main parties need to do, since you are the top leading parties in our country, to make sure that we kept this very phenomenon?
You see, what I'm saying, if you need an answer, it must be provided within a certain context. Let me tell you that even political parties import people to come and be their party agents. Why? Instead of using indigenous people, because they want to protect their so-called ballot. You understand? So you have to understand the dynamics of politics. So people, and a by-election is a national election. And so people think that it is important for them to protect their ballot. Now, the people who go there, you have no idea about their temperament, okay? And so some of them make statements which are provocative. And naturally...
You mean the aliens? The aliens who will be guarding the polls that day?
Precisely, because the people themselves are very busy trying to cast their ballot. So they have no time for those things. But people who have gone there to monitor, to observe, to do other things, they may make all kinds of provocative statements. And those things are what will elicit the so-called violence. Because if you ask all the people who have complained about violence, you ask them, what happened? How did it come about? How did it come about? Somebody must have provoked some other person.
Okay.
And that's how...
Your boys, Azoka boys, were they provoked?
First and foremost, the Azoka boys, if you call them Azoka boys, I don't know of any Azoka boys. Listen, Azoka is a regional chairman of the Northern Regional Branch of the NDC. And as a regional chairman, he's entitled, when he's moving, to move with some people.
Really?
Yes, every chairman, every president moves with people.
Oh.
Every general
secretary. Okay, don't. I know where you're going. I know where you're going with that argument.
Every general secretary moves with people.
I'm saying that. Yes. I know where you're going with that argument about.
You expect
about
to be moving alone?
No, please. You let me. Please. I know where you're going with. Personalities move with people. I know where that one is going. But see, you still are evading my question, and I would want you to answer in a minute so that I can go to
Very well.
Obi. What do you think the parties need to do? Because now, from all that you've talked about, you indeed acknowledge that there are people, even though non-formally, who are grouped and they move around. You are saying they're entitled, so they move around. Some are aliens, they move around, go and protect votes and things like that. What do you think you need to do so that these aliens and people who protect your ballot papers or voting processes and things like that don't perpetuate activities that will degenerate into violence?
I have never endorsed those particular groups, whatever you call them. I've never endorsed them, because those groups could turn their guns actually against you in some other situations. So we are all safer without any groups. So, but for now, we have to impress upon people to desist from having any side groups. And even if they have side groups, we have to talk to the groups that they must avoid violence. I think that is what we have to do. Now, when I came in, I listened to my brother.
You're not reacting to him. I asked you a question, and you still have not answered my question. I think we for the last 5 minutes. I said the two parties. What do you think you need to do?
No, we don't have two parties. We have more than two parties. Pakwesi Indum, in his statement, says that he's also capable of forming groups.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
He said the two parties.
I am saying that we don't have two parties in the country. We have more than two political parties in the country, and we don't know what others intend to do. So what I'm saying, when you are making a statement, the statement must be for all political parties, and not just for the two.
Right. The two parties. How are you going to make sure that this phenomenon that we're seeing among you, or between the two of you, is stopped?
Well, the only way we can, what happened in Talensi was unfortunate, but the only way we can stop this, anyway, as far as I'm concerned, this thing came about because it is a by-election. When we have a national election...
That's even going to be serious?
No, it will not be serious,
really?
Because you cannot congregate them.
Okay. Can you imagine that we have, how many, 275
constituencies?
Yeah, good.
Yes.
And we're hoping that the president will not create more, or the electoral commission will not be mandated.
You let us stay with the 275.
Right.
Yes.
So we have, let's say, the phenomenon we saw in Talensi, in about 100 of them.
Yes.
Do you know how chaotic election day is going to be? Especially when the election is extended in some areas to for the next 8 hours.
My brother, we have a bulldogs in Bolga. We have got invisible forces in Accra.
True.
If you like, we have Azoka. If you like, we have Azoka boys in Tamale. Exactly. Are they going to deploy them to the whole 275 constituencies? Wait, I'm saying, how are they going to deploy them to the whole 275 constituencies?
So they should be. So they should be made to be operating. That's the question I asked.
No, they cannot.
Okay,
I'm saying they cannot operate.
All right.
In fact, they only operated because it was just a single by-election. I'm saying that when you have 275 elections, they cannot operate.
We haven't ended our discussion, so just relax about it. I'm sure.
In the first place,
the parties. What do you need to do?
You
want to respond to him?
I'll take a few seconds to react, and I'll tell you what the parties need to do. It's my turn now, don't worry. In the first place, I don't agree that everything was quiet in Talensi, and for that reason, those who were voting could not have complained, etc. The turnout was 62%. And I'm saying that if during the voting, in the course of the elections, if a prospective voter would read on the net or could hear on air that there was violence and intimidation, it could stop that person from even going to vote. Not necessarily going to vote for my party or his party.
By what means?
But
that you hear reports on the net, so it makes you...
No, not only on the net. You hear on air that there's violence,
but it's been categorized that, that really, in the polling areas, nothing happened. It was the outskirts, the periphery.
He is saying that because we've had
because the voting process itself was
we had reports of those who were going to monitor the process, those who were at the polling station who were attacked because they said they were strangers or they had heard that. We had reports. Rashid Bawa talking. He wasn't sitting at home and it happened. Okay. He was going to monitor the police station. So what I'm saying is that we should not create the impression that when there's violence and intimidation, it will not drive voters away. And also you come out and say that everything was clean, except that the
violence took place outside.
Yes,
outside
it was within that environment.
Right.
So it has effect. Now what we need to do, I don't think the parties need to do anything.
Really?
It's for the law enforcement agencies.
Really? When your parties have bulldogs, your parties have invisible forces, this party have Azoka, Azoka boys.
Listen, you can have wild hawks, whatever description.
Or sea lions.
But if the law enforcement agencies are working, who the hell are you to say you are bulldogs or you are Azoka?
So you're saying the law enforcement agencies?
I'm saying that anybody who infringes on the law should take its course. No matter who, but this situation of where the people are wearing party colors, or people come in the name of parties and they create mayhem, and then the security agencies treat them with kid gloves.
Obi,
if you do this,
Obi, we have causative factors. The causative factors are that one, these groups are formed within the parties by personalities within the parties. These groups, even though not formalized by the parties, somehow. Invariably have been informally accepted to be operating within the remit of the party.
We are saying the same thing. But what I'm saying is that people should not benefit from this. And the only way you don't benefit from this is that
why don't we have the parties cautioning those individuals who are behind those people to stop?
In the first place, I am a member of parliament. I take charge of a whole constituency. And I can tell you on authority that never has it crossed my mind that I should have a vigilante group in my constituency.
Yes. You are one among 275.
That's what I'm saying.
So why is it that we have...
And you can have in several constituencies where you will not have any MP thinking of forming a vigilante
group.
So
who forms them?
But what I'm saying is that, of course, in a big political organization, you will have certain people who think that that is the role they can play. But I'm saying that if you infringe on the law should deal with you. How many times do we hear anybody being prosecuted for embarking on such acts? People become notorious, and after becoming notorious, they become party leaders.
Is it, Obi?
You understand?
Yeah.
So my attitude is that, fine, look, I have been to almost every by-election.
Let me make a point about...
I'll get to you. When it comes to by-elections, it's true that we congregate at such centers. At Sangregwa by-election, we were all there. Bimbila, we were all there. Akwetia, we were all there. Gumwa, wherever. So, of course, you have people more or less invading the place. But that doesn't mean there should be violence. That's number one. Number two, who are the known faces perpetuating this? Of course, if you say you have OB boys in Ekwapim South, and when you come, it's only a sporting group. They go for keep fit in the morning. They play gala amongst themselves.
That's okay.
I've not infringed on any law.
But when you have them perpetuating violence,
intimidating people, and some of them are even armed, and the police tell you they are helpless.
All right.
Because I don't want to be in a political party where intimidation and violence dominates.
But it's happening in your party, it's happening in his party as well.
Yes, but
so what will you do? Will you resign? The point is that
it's not about resignation.
Yes, good.
If you say invisible forces, and if you say they have attacked people, what has the police done about it?
Please.
What is the police telling us?
Why not having those who form the parties? Those who form those boys.
You are getting the impression that you go for steering committee, and the steering committee decides that you should form a vigilante.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm saying that you have people who say they belong to the party.
I'm not talking about it. No. I'm not saying the parties have legalized them.
No.
You listen here.
It's not true. They are not recognized by the political parties. We do understand that.
That's what I'm saying.
But the political parties can also not turn a blind eye to the fact that they have these.
You can only report to the police for the police to deal with them.
Please.
Some people even come there and they claim they are party members. They may not even hold party cards.
And they are not.
Please.
You go and carry people to a party office.
Please.
They go and
Unfortunately, I give you only 2 minutes for it. I want to move on to the next subject.
Yes. Easy, Obi, take it easy. You are talking about the security forces dealing with
clamping on them.
Yeah. Easy. On election day, the police people are the security people. They are unarmed. Do you know that?
So
the police are unarmed. How are they supposed to do that?
So how do you arm your boys?
I'm saying that. Well, let me make the point. I'm saying that the police are unarmed. The way he's talking, some of the violence which happened in Talensi, it was before the very eyes of the police, but they were helpless. Because the people who were perpetrating the violence were better armed. When I say armed, not necessarily with guns and whatnot.
Your point is?
So my point is that we all must be disciplined. So you can't go to a police station, you can't go to an election area and then create indiscipline.
So why do you do it?
Well, let me tell you, some people have even got established forces stationed at the headquarters of their party. Have you heard that there is any such force at the headquarters of the NDC?
No, listen.
Which party are you talking about?
Is it what?
Which party are you talking about?
Oh, which party has invisible forces?
Which party has invisible forces? Okay, granted, yes.
I'll respond to you.
Yes.
But during elections,
yes,
they may not be stationed in your party, but they manifest themselves at election grounds.
Well, I have told you that people move in groups, and people come there. So it's not, you are not in a position to audit that. But when you have a recognized force station at
recognized by who? Because they are not recognized. I want to because indeed the two parties indeed acknowledge that formally they don't have within their structure groups that are supposed to be undertaking their activities.
Listen. When you have a force known by going by the name,
they can go by
bulldogs.
They can go by any name.
To a party official that they cannot step foot in a particular place.
Not true.
And those party officials are not able to do that. What do you take that for?
You are going somewhere.
Who issued the
fatwa? What do you think that for?
It
was published.
Right.
I'm not saying it. It was published. It was in the media.
It was in
the media.
I wanted to look at
you haven't addressed the issue. Your Zachi boys and Azoka boys. You haven't addressed the issue.
Which other one?
Zachi. If you go to Tabana, you have several groups. I can listen for you. I know what